Hello indie game fans, I have so many upcoming indie games for you to keep an eye on, with some of these releasing sooner than you might think, so let's begin with MIGHTREYA, a character action title in which you play as a schoolgirl superhero content creator as she battles beings from other dimensions. Yes, of course, this is very anime, similar to something like One Punch Man or My Hero Academia in concept, and simply looks awesome. There will be 3 weapons, 30 unique actions and attacks to chain into combos, 38 stages and 24 enemy types, with the whole being a streamer character background, possibly leading to an interesting narrative since she can play off her manager and has potential. If you know me, you'll be aware that I love my Japanese-style turn-based RPGs, even better if they are in pixel art, so it will be no surprise that Forge of the Fae gets a mention, one that draws inspiration from Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger, but also Secret of Mana and Breath of Fire, the last of which doesn't get imitated enough, which makes this especially of note. This has a Celtic mythology-themed world, but with steampunk technology, with a crystal system to customize your skills, and an adrenaline/surge system in combat, so check out their Kickstarter page for details, where it was fully funded on day 1, but there are still stretch goals and rewards. This video is brought to you by Technotopia, a city builder but with cards, where you play as an AI that has to manage a futuristic city, building it out and expanding it while keeping the various factions of the city in balance. You are constructing entire city districts and will have random events that you need to deal with, all of which will ever so slightly tilt the balance of power one way or the next, where it is your job to keep everything in check. These factions and characters span across hackers, oligarchs, criminals and inventors, each having different wants and needs, with the card-based twist being unique and releases very soon as well on October 23rd, so in the meantime, do wishlist the game.
The year is 1949.
I am very much looking forward to Grit Valor 1949, a grid-based tactical title, but get this, it is a real-time game instead of turn-based, which is different from other similar dieselpunk titles that I have come across. Of course, being set in 1949, this is an alternate history World War II title, where you are battling the evil Axis forces, with the main mission of escorting a command vehicle with an EMP into the heart of enemy territory to take out their command tower. As such, the game does kind of resemble an RTS, but with more tactical considerations, where things like the range of your units are more clearly displayed. But I do love a good mech game, and this looks to be awesome. I like my farming and life sim titles, which is probably my favourite out of all the genres grouped under cozy games, with an upcoming title of interest being Artisan Story. However, instead of farming, this has a monster taming twist where you are running your own crafting workshop with a monster wrench attached to it, being able to defeat and tame monsters, which can then be raised on your fantasy farm. It has an interesting mix of art styles, where I'm not really sure where I will finally land on it, having anime portraits, 2D pixel art sprites, as well as 3D environmental objects, not exactly being the most consistent in terms of visuals, but it does remind me in parts of Ragnarok Online. Similarly, this has already been fully funded on Kickstarter with a relatively modest target, so check out the campaign for stretch goals and rewards. I saw a statistic the other day that in the 2 years since release, the mining defense roguelite Domekeeper has sold over 1 million copies, so it's no wonder that other developers have borrowed some of those same concepts, with the next game to do so being ITER. You play as an expendable worker that has to delve into the mines to extract resources, but top-down instead of front-on, although there are some interesting camera shifts in this game as well. You can return to your drill pod to cash in the resources and construct automated defenses to fend off a mechanical threat, looking pretty similar in concept. From their description, I don't see any mention of any meta progression system with permanent progression, but that seems like a no-brainer for a game like this. But either way, this might be able to capture some of that same market as its inspiration. A little bit of a controversial one here in Super Zoo Story, a pixel art farming sim with a zoo management aspect, which, when it was first revealed, seemed to have directly copied some sprites, especially the trees, from Stardew Valley. However, in the months since then, they have reworked the pixel art and it doesn't look like a direct copy, so I'll give it a pass, although the wood that they chuck into the fireplace in this trailer does look awfully familiar. The whole zoo management aspect is rather interesting, and I do wonder how that will mesh together with the farming aspect, since the more animals you have, the more of them you will need to take care of, with no mention of being able to hire zookeepers to help, although I'm sure that there must be some sort of automated feeding mechanism, for example. This has all the bells and whistles expected for a farming game, such as over 40 characters in town, which are all on their own schedules, which you can befriend and even romance, along with a crafting system, festivals and events, revitalization of the city, home customization, fishing, and also multiplayer support. New features more specific to this game are archaeology and the revival of dinosaurs, as well as the ability to explore underwater and upgrade your personal aquarium. And honestly, does look pretty awesome, although do note that this is a 2-person team, but hopefully they will be able to deliver on their promises. A pretty interesting roguelite title is Drop Duchy, which has you playing Tetris, placing down Tetraminos to collect resources, and then to use these to recruit troops to fight enemies. There's also a deck building element with cards to upgrade, with combat also being Tetris, so it's great to see a twist on the classic, all with a very neat looking, almost tabletop war game kind of presentation. Hot off the presses is the announcement of Pathologic 3, the sequel to Pathologic 2 from 2019 and the original from 2005, released in HD on Steam in 2015. These are very strange, cult classic open world RPGs with horror and survival elements, with Pathologic 2 in particular taking off since a plague was ravaging that town and you only had 12 days to fight it off. In this sequel, you play as a doctor in another plague-ridden town and also have just 12 days, but are able to travel into the future to witness the worst outcomes or to go back in the past to fix mistakes, with medical knowledge and science as your weapons. Obviously, the townspeople are hiding something which you need to figure out, and it looks like another strange cult classic in the making. Back to something a lot more traditional in the all-action first-person hack-and-slash title VOIN. You are thrown into a dark fantasy world and can go ham on your enemies, wielding swords and maces as well as primordial elements to destroy them. I'm not sure how much there is in terms of plot and story, but that shouldn't really matter, where it appears to have some sort of open world structure, since you can platform your way up castle walls and then to attack enemies from above, Assassin's Creed style, and simply looks like all action all the time. I've had my eye on this next game for a little while, and they finally released their full trailer for Tearscape, or is it Tearscape, where this is a pixel art Souls-like action-adventure title that looks kind of awesome, where you play as a bloodborne hunter-looking guy battling monstrous enemies in a dark gothic fantasy world. If you told me that this is a Bloodborne remake, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think that they're trying to do their own thing. However, you have a limited number of healing flasks, a stamina bar, deliberate combat with wind up to your attack animation, hidden paths and shortcuts to get back to earlier areas, and of course, massive, horrific bosses, so you know exactly what they are going for, and has a great GBA-inspired art style as well. Newsletter subscribers will have seen the news that some of the developers from Ronimo Games, makers of Awesome Knots, have regrouped under the banner of Rangatang, and while they have sold off the Awesome Knots IP, they have bought back the rights to Nubs, which is in development. Concerningly, however, is that this is a 5-player PvP party arena brawler title where you are going around getting power-ups in order to defeat your opponents, and has roguelite style progression as well. looking very cute, but depending on how they are set up, I do have my concerns if this game will be able to sustain them as a team. I follow the developer of Mecha Simultactics on Twitter, who always has awesome gifs of their game to show off, being a simultaneous turn-based tactics title about mechs battling each other. This is of course very anime as well, with the whole giant mecha battling thing, but most interesting is the combat, where you and your opponent are choosing which move to execute in a turn-based fashion, which then plays out simultaneously, requiring anticipation and forward thinking, whose closest comparison that I can think of is your only move is hustle. There is a free alpha version out now, so you can give that a try, but I am concerned with the PvP focus since apparently there isn't single player support. A very charming title that immediately captured hearts and minds is Tanuki Pond's Summer, in which you play as a Tanuki postman working hard to restore the local shrine before the end of summer. Gorgeous animated introduction aside, this is a 3D adventure exploration title with a very Japanese setting where you are free to roam the town on your bicycle, delivering packages, making friends, and pulling off sick tricks. There are life sim elements like fishing and baseball, and is a love letter to Japan based on the developer's experience living there, and nailed everything from art to animation, and is a cozy game to watch. Here's a weird title whose key art gives me the creeps, but in gameplay, The King is Watching has a minimalist pixel art style which I'm a big fan of, and is a roguelite kingdom builder that looks very strategic. You are building out your economy on a 4x4 grid on the left hand side, choosing which building to construct, but also having to manage your troops to fight off oncoming enemies on the right. This game looks absolutely awesome, and being the kind of game I think it is, has the potential to be a huge hit. The next game from the developer of Dead Cells is definitely of interest, where the news with regards to Windblown, if you have not heard, is that its early access release date is less than 3 weeks away, so you will get to play very soon. This is a lightning-fast action roguelite with co-op support for up to 3 players, although playing solo is completely possible, where you are taking on massive enemies known as sentinels, with the gimmick here being that when you die, you leave a memory of the previous character in the world, where your new character can absorb said memories to unlock special powers and synergies, so it is built as a run-based game from the ground up, so let's see if they will manage to deliver. Watch this video for more upcoming roguelite titles.